Sir.
Afternoon. Tosin, can we hear ourselves?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
I can hardly hear you. Your voice volume is very low. How is that?
Can you
Your
hear me now,
volume
sir?
is
Is it
extremely low.
better?
Huh?
Is it better now, sir?
It is not better now. I can hardly hear you. I can hardly hear you.
I can hear you
hardly hear
clearly.
you. Somebody should do something about that.
Adewale, please, can you hear me clearly? Confirm that you can hear me clearly.
You said what?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Tosin, I can hear you clearly.
Can everybody hear Tosin very well?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, clearly, sir.
Ah. Then maybe it's my own audio. Maybe it's my audio. Let me reboot myself.
Your audio, sir. Maybe increase the volume, sir.
Wow.
right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Please confirm once more that you can hear me.
Hi, Tosin. Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our highly anticipated webinar, Data Privacy in E-Commerce and Logistics. We are absolutely delighted to welcome members of the NDPC, business owners and operators in the e-commerce and logistics sector, fintech companies, participants, who just, took interest in the topic when they saw it. We know there are various people here, so we'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. To begin, we'd like to, give a brief background into what inspired this webinar. So this webinar is brought to you by iSox Professional Services Limited, which is a sister company to SIAO. iSox is a registered data protection compliance organization, and in the course of our engagement, with various companies, something we have realized in Nigeria is that a lot of companies or a lot of businesses are not fully aware of what data privacy is, and if at all they are aware, they're not aware of how important it is to their business. So during this experience, we see that these business owners, in the course of their business, they exchange a lot of data, or they absorb a lot of data, from customers or from clients, yet they don't understand how important it is to safeguard this data. So, we decided to pick the e-commerce and logistics sector because a lot of buying and selling takes place online. And in the course of that, a lot of information is exchanged, vital sensitive information is exchanged. When you process goods, when you deliver goods, a lot of information is exchanged. And the e-commerce and logistics sector goes hand in hand. In the words of one of the logistic businesses
Recording
in Nigeria,
in progress.
commerce is nothing without logistics. So because both businesses go hand in hand, we decided to pick this in this business area or this industry. So when there's an exchange of data in this sector doing buying and selling, we see that if this data is not properly handled by these business owners or these operators, there's a tendency for it to be misused. And if this information is misused or applied to any use other than which it was originally anticipated, these business owners will tend to fall foul of the law. They'll be in violation of what the law provides, and it will cause them a lot of harm, both financially and reputation-wise. So this webinar is a well-rounded event that will provide a holistic view on what data privacy is, how to comply, and what the business of e-commerce and logistics is about generally. So we're not just going to speak from the regulator's point of view. You're not just going to hear about what data privacy is and how to comply and all that. You're also going to hear from the angle of the business owners. You're going to hear about their business and how complying with data privacy laws has been for them or is for them, challenges that they might be going through, if any, and whatever recommendations they might have. So we encourage you to please stay tuned. It promises to be an insightful, engaging, interesting, and rewarding session. So we'll begin the session this afternoon with our keynote speaker. So our keynote speaker for this event is Dr. Vincent Olatunji, and he'll be speaking on compliance with data privacy in Nigeria. So I'll just, give a brief rundown of his profile. Dr. Vincent Olatunji has worked in the public sector for about 34 years. He joined the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITA, in 2002, working in various departments and rising to director in 2014 and acting director general in 2016. He was the director of e-government developing and regulations, where he successfully mainstreamed the development and launch of various policies, guidelines, and frameworks, such as the Nigeria Interoperability Framework, Nigeria e-government enterprise architecture, cloud first policy, government digital service policy, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, and Smart Initiative Digital Transformation. He also chaired the implementation committees of some of them, and he's a member of many committees of experts. He was listed among the 100 leading telecom and ICT personalities in Nigeria by the Association of Telecommunication Companies of Nigeria in April 2018. An eminent recognition as one of the top 50 digital economy enablers in Nigeria, 2023 and 2025, appointed as Country Chief Data Officer Ambassador by the Massachusetts Institute of Information Management, and enlisted as a member of the Forbes Technology Council 2023. July 2024, he was nominated for the Giovanni Buttarelli Award through the Global Privacy Assembly. December 2024, he was appointed as an ID4 Africa Deputy Ambassador for Nigeria. And in April 2025, he was appointed as the chair of the Anglophone Countries Committee of the Network of Africa Data Protection Authorities. He has also won several awards from public and private sector organizations. Membership of professional bodies, is a member of the International Association of Privacy Professionals, is a member of Nigeria Computer Society, is a member of the Information Technology Systems and Security Professionals. He's a fellow of the Institute of Information Management of Technology and is a director with the Compliance Institute of Nigeria. On the 4th of February 2022, he was appointed as the Pioneer National Commissioner / Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Data Protection Bureau, which has now transitioned to the Nigeria Data Protection Commission in June 2023. So, sadly, our keynote speaker could not make it today. He's unavoidably absent. He had a last-minute emergency to attend to. But fortunately for us, he is ably represented at this event by his technical advisor in the person of Engineer Tolulope Ibitoye. Please let's make welcome Engineer Tolulope Ibitoye to deliver the first discussion for this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tolulope Ibitoye, and I'll be representing the National Commissioner of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission today. Before I start, I'd like to extend his appreciation for the opportunity to, for the Commission to participate at this webinar. And then I'd also like to extend his sincere apologies for not being able to make it. He had to attend to some unforeseen official engagements at the last minute. So I'll just go straight to the presentation. Sorry. Can everyone see my screen, please?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah. The e-commerce market in Nigeria has experienced exponential growth in the past few years, and this has been fueled by increased internet penetration, smartphone penetration, and a large number of young population. The e-commerce sector in Nigeria has about 76 million users, and this represents 33.68% of the entire population of Nigeria. And this makes it a significant market for e-commerce and logistics business. The e-commerce market is valued at 8.8 billion in 2024, and this is expected to reach 22 billion by 2032. The freight and logistics market is estimated at 10 billion in 2025, and this is expected to reach 15 billion by 2030. Similarly, third-party logistics market is expected to reach 7.9 billion in 2023, and it will grow to 12 billion by 2030. 30. Okay. Data privacy challenges in e-commerce sector. So we all know that the e-commerce and logistics sector rely on personal information of consumers. Personal information includes the names of the consumers, their addresses, their email addresses, phone numbers, payment details. And in terms of third party, most e-commerce websites or most e-commerce businesses use third party delivery logistics partners. They also, ship orders abroad and use cloud services that may or may not be within Nigeria. Because of this, the sector is prone to data breaches, cyber attacks, and the likes. As a result of this sector has been ranked the fifth amongst industries for cyber attacks, and this also accounts for 6.77% of such incidents globally. Or the biggest data breach that was recorded globally was on an e-commerce platform named Ticketmaster. This data breach exposed the information of 500 and customers, and this was also posted on the dark web for sale. The attacker publish the data of data subjects online if the organization didn't pay him 500,000 US dollars. So this explains that the sector is really, prone to cyber attacks, and it's very important that adequate that data protection and privacy measures are put in place to safeguard the data of customers. The repercussion of data breaches on businesses is very impactful and far-reaching. One of the repercussions is loss of customer trust. We all know that nobody really wants to deal with a company that they cannot safeguard your data. According to statistics, 65% of data breach victims lost trust in an organization. And 3 out of 4 customers have been found that they would avoid doing business with an organization that does not, safeguard their personal information. In addition to this, there's reputational damage. We know that bad news spread very fast, especially in the era of social media. It is easy for people to post, and at the end of the day, this brings bad PR and spoils the image of organizations. We have seen, according to statistics, that 85% of customers that are affected by a data breach will share their experience with others. 33% will express their frustration on social media, and 20% will comment directly on the website or social media platforms of the organization. Another consequence is financial loss. In terms of financial loss, organizations face financial losses due to costs of data breach response, compensation for affected customers, and huge and hefty fines by data protection authorities, especially in situations where the data breach involved personal data. Data breaches can also lower the valuation of companies. We've seen this in the case of Yahoo in 2017, when Verizon wanted to acquire Yahoo. The initial price that they were supposed to acquire Yahoo from, there was a 350 million reduction in that price. This also says that there's a huge impact that data breach has on organizations. There's loss of competitive edge in the sense that customers would rather pay for the same service or the same product with another organization, even if it's more expensive, but the organization has better security measures in place. And then we've also found that customers regard security to be the main consideration when purchasing products and services. There are also legal and regulatory consequences that comes with data breaches. There's regulatory fines because when there's a data breach that involves personal data, it is it violates data protection law. And in certain jurisdictions, such as Nigeria, the CEO of the organization can even be prosecuted. So, yeah, the data breach has huge consequences on businesses. Now, the role of data privacy and data protection is very significant when it comes to e-commerce. And this is important in safeguarding personal rights and ensuring that the organization builds trust with customers. Data privacy is a fundamental human right that several laws have been put in place to, safeguard this right. It is the right that an individual has about who can process their data, why, or for what purpose the organization wants to process their data for. Data protection, on the other hand, because data protection and data privacy goes hand in hand. Data protection speaks primarily to the technical and organizational measures that are put in place to ensure that data is safe from unauthorized access, data breaches, misuse, loss, or destruction. Now, globally, there has been a growing concern about how data is being processed, how businesses process, store data of individuals. And as such, various regulations have been put in place, like the European GDPR and the Nigeria Data Protection Act of 2023. Now, we'll be looking at the Nigeria Data Protection Act of 2023. This act was signed into law in June 2023 by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And this is the act that establishes the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. This act regulates the processing of personal data of Nigerians, and it provides guidelines for the collection, use, and storage of personal data. It also addresses the challenges that are posed by emerging technologies and their impact on data protection. Now, there are stakeholders in the data protection ecosystem, and it will be important that we all know what parts that we play in this ecosystem. Data subjects are the individuals whose data is being collected, processed, or stored by an organization. All of us are data subjects because whether we work in an organization or not, we are individuals, and we give our data out to people when we want to conduct businesses. Even we give our data to our employers and all of that. So we all are data subjects. A data controller is an individual or entity that determines the purpose and means of processing personal data. So like an organization, maybe like an e-commerce business, you know that for you to run your business, you need the names of your customers, you need their addresses. That makes you a data controller. Data processors are individuals or entities that process personal data on behalf of the data controller. So I'll give a context to this. An e-commerce business relies on a third-party logistics partner to, deliver to customers. In this situation, the e-commerce organization is the data controller, while the third-party logistics partner is the data processor. Then we also have data processing regulator. These are Independent Data Protection Authority, and it is NDPC in this context, like in Nigeria. Now, to ensure that data controllers and data processors comply with the Nigeria Data Protection Act, there are certain things that they need to put in place. First of this is to register with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. The Nigeria Data Protection Act in Section 44 mandates that every data controller or data processor must register with the Commission. And if they are new, they must register with the Commission within 6 months after before 6 months elapsed after they became an organization. The law also puts some legal grounds where data can be processed by organizations. One of such is consent. The law mandates that before any business processes the data of any data subject, they must obtain the explicit consent from that data subject. So if you do not have consent from a data subject, you are not allowed to, to use their data. Another situation is for vital interest. There are situations where maybe someone was involved in an accident and they are unconscious. You need to take them to the hospital. You do not know their data. They cannot give you consent to use their data. You can rely on vital interest because this is to safeguard the person's life. And as soon as that person comes to consciousness, it is very important to, now seek their consent for further processing of their data. There's also contracts. This is when data processing is to fulfill contractual obligations. We also have public interest. Public interest is to serve the general interest of the public in situations where maybe there's a pandemic and, it's for the greater good of the society. Legal obligation speaks to when it is needed for compliance with legal requirements. Legitimate interest is for, to serve the interests of a business. However, we always propose that for businesses to use legitimate interest as a legal ground to process personal data, they must conduct a legitimate impact assessment to be sure that even when they process the personal data of these data subjects, that it will not pose huge risks to the data subjects. To also comply with the Nigeria Data Protection Act, there are certain data processing principles that organizations must adhere with. First is lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. This means that data must be processed in a way that is fair to the customer. And you must also conduct processing in a transparent manner. How do you process data in a transparent manner? You must ensure that your customers know what data of them that you have, what you're using their data for, the purpose of processing, who you're sharing their data with. And this can be, you can let customers know this by having a privacy policy. There's also purpose limitation. Purpose limitation says that you must use data only for what you collected it for. You're not going to collect somebody's data for maybe for delivery, and then at the end of the day, you're sending adverts to them. That is wrong in the principle of data privacy. There's data minimization. Data minimization states that you collect only what is required. If you want to maybe make deliveries or on your e-commerce platform, the only thing you need is name, email addresses, phone numbers. Maybe you don't need other things like their health records and all of that. So you collect only what is needed. Integrity and confidentiality speaks to ensuring that nobody that is unauthorized can access their data, and this is where data protection comes into place. Storage limitation speaks to only keeping data for as long as keeping data for just a period of time, not forever. You don't keep people's data, you only keep it for the period that is necessary for. And this is why we also tell organizations that they should have data retention policies in place. Data retention policy will speak to how long you're going to hold your customers' data for. And when you want to discard this data, what measures are you putting in place? How are you going to discard them that to be, destroyed safely and nobody can have access to it? Accuracy speaks to ensuring that the data that you have of your customers are accurate and they are of high quality. Now, the Nigeria Data Protection Act, according to Section 34, gives some rights to data subjects, and these rights must be, adhered to. Businesses must ensure that customers are able to exercise their rights. The first of this is right to be informed. Like I said earlier, when I was talking about transparency, your customers must know what data you have of them, what you want to use their data for. Are you sharing your data with any other person? So this is the rights that customers must be able to know about and exercise. There's right of access. Right of access speaks to customers being able to ask or inquire, what data of me do you have with you? You can make customers exercise these rights by having like data subject access rights form, where they can easily maybe see it on your website or your social media platforms, and they are able to ask you what data of them that you have. Customers they also have the right to rectification, which speaks to being able to correct their data that you have in your possession. There's right to erasure. As a customer, I can decide that, please, I no longer want you to keep my data. Kindly delete my data from your database. There's also right to data portability. Data portability speaks to being able to move my data from one service provider to another. The example I'll give is, I've been using Nine Mobile for years now, and in recent times, there's no network on Nine Mobile. I don't know if any other person is experiencing that. I've not been able to recharge, not been able to make calls on my Nine Mobile line. I should be able to say, okay, I no longer want to use Nine Mobile. I want to port to Airtel. And Nine Mobile should be able to do that for me without any problems and at no cost to me. There's also right to restrict processing. Right to restrict processing means you have my data, you're processing my data all the while, but I want you to stop processing my data. So I can say, for now, please stop processing my data. That's what right to restrict processing means. Right to object to processing. I don't even want you to process my data at all. So a customer should be able to say they do not want you to process their data. There's also right to withdraw consent. Customers should be able to withdraw their consent at any point in time. There's right to object to automated decision making. We know that in the era of artificial intelligence, people use artificial intelligence to make decisions. Even e-commerce sites now, there's all these personalization, recommendation systems, and all of that. A customer should be able to say they do not want those things to be used on them. This is peculiar to the Nigeria Data Protection Commission and the Act, is the right to lodge complaints with the Commission. So we give data subjects the opportunity to, maybe they are disgruntled about how a certain organization is processing their data. They feel like they are using their data for what they're not supposed to use it for. Data subjects can, lodge a complaint with the Commission, and then we would investigate and take it from there. The Act also stipulates that data controllers and data processors must implement technical and organizational measures. For technical measures, it means your systems must, you must implement encryption on your systems, access control to ensure that only authorized people can access data, like role-based access control, not that the receptionist or somebody that has nothing to do with customer data should have access to customer data. There's data masking, firewall, and intrusion detection systems to ensure that your systems and your networks can detect if maybe there's data breach that is going to happen. There's also regular software updates, there's data backups, secure coding practices, endpoint security, data classification, and vulnerability management. For technical measures is the data protection part and is similar to cybersecurity. organizational measures that should be put in place should be there should be a data protection policy, which is more like an internal document that lets your staff know this is how we process data, and just safe handling of data. The Act also mandates that every data controller and data processor must appoint a data protection officer. So every e-commerce business or logistics must have a data protection officer that would, help the organization, advise the organization on how they can be compliant with the Nigeria Data Protection Act. In addition to this, employees and staff should also be trained on data protection and privacy to ensure that they are able to handle customers' data in the right way. Data inventory should be put in place. DPIA is data privacy impact assessment. So this comes into play maybe when the organization wants to develop or deploy a new solution that you must conduct a data privacy impact assessment to be sure that it doesn't pose a high risk to customers, and to ensure that all data technical measures are put in place and it doesn't pose risk to users. An incident response plan must also be developed and put in place for situations where maybe there's a data breach. There needs to be like the staff that are that play such roles should know how they would respond to an incident or a data breach. There should also be third-party risk assessment. Now, for third-party risk assessment, it's important that every contractor or every other service provider that works with a business is adequately vetted, and there should be a third-party agreement between both parties or all the parties involved to ensure that all parties are compliant with the Nigeria Data Protection Act, and that they also put in measures to safeguard data. The biggest breach that I mentioned earlier for last year was caused by a third party, like a vulnerability in the third party system. And when even a third party or a data processor, if the breach comes from them, it is still the data controller that is being held responsible. So it is very important that, you properly check your third party to ensure that, they put in place adequate measure to safeguard the privacy of data subjects. There should also be data retention policies, which I spoke about earlier. There should be regular audits and assessments of your systems and measures that you've put in place. There should also be privacy by design and default. This speaks to, at the point where you're developing maybe a mobile app for a business or the website, data privacy by design should have been embedded from the very beginning. This means that the platform only takes only what is required from the customers. In some other situations, the platform customers must also be able to, maybe there are certain things that are in that app, such as maybe location data and all of that. It must be turned off by default, not that it is when the customer downloads it is already taking their data in that regard. So they must be able to opt out of certain features. Now, reporting to data breach, we know that sometimes, even when we've put in place a lot of measures, things happen and there's still data breach. The Nigeria Data Protection Act mandates that if there's any situation of data breach, the data controller must notify the commission within 72 hours of becoming aware of the breach. And in a situation where the breach is it poses high risks to the data subjects, they must also be informed immediately. If there's a situation where it is impractical to send direct messages to the data subjects, maybe the organization can make a public media, a post publish a post maybe in the newspapers, on social media where people can easily find it. The Details of the data breach should include the types of data that was affected, the number of individuals affected as well. Now, another compliance measure is to register with a data protection compliance organization. So the Nigeria Data Protection Act has put in place the public-private partnership model where the NDPC licensed some organizations to carry out a range of services to data controllers and data processors. These services include registration with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, carrying out data privacy impact assessments, training and awareness of your staff, incident response and breach notification, and cross-border data transfer. It also includes being able to, file annual audits, because the only way an organization can file annual audits with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission is through a DPCO. This is a summary of all I've spoken about, checklist for compliance for e-commerce and logistics operators and data controllers in general. First, register with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. Process data lawfully. Make sure that it's founded on a legal ground. Process data according to established principles that were put in place by the Nigeria Data Protection Act. Ensure that you appoint a data protection officer. Inform your data subjects by having a privacy policy. Conduct data privacy impact assessments to ensure that the information of that whatever it is that you're deploying doesn't pose high risk to the data subject. Ensure security, integrity, and confidentiality to ensure that we prevent unauthorized access to information. Report data breach within 72 hours. Engage a data protection compliance organization and file an annual audit with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. Now, the consequences of non-compliance. According to sections 48 and 49 of the Nigeria Data Protection Act, the NDPC has the power to impose a fine for data controllers of major importance. The fine can be between 10 million naira or 2% of the annual gross revenue in the preceding year. So it is which one that is greater. If the annual gross revenue of the preceding year was 30 million, so we're fining you 30 million, not 10 million. Then there's also data controller or processor, not of major importance. These are organizations that have maybe they're processing information of less than 200 data subjects. Then the fine will be 2 million or 2% of annual revenue. And in a situation where we see that the CEO of the affected company was complacent and they didn't even put in any data privacy measures at all, the CEO can be prosecuted and imprisoned for a term of not more than a year. In conclusion, I'd like to say that the future of e-commerce and logistics is promising and it has a great potential for innovation, job creation, and economic growth. However, the growth of this sector depends solely on public trust. And at the core of this trust is data privacy. Data privacy is no longer a legal requirement. It is a fundamental human right. So I'd like to implore all of us as, on our part as regulators, businesses, consumers, that we all have a shared role to play to make sure that we embed privacy in everything that we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Tolulokwe Bitoye. That was a very enlightening presentation. I'm sure that I wasn't the only person that was able to pick a whole lot of things to learn from your presentation. It's very interesting to learn that one of the biggest data breaches recorded in year 2024 was actually from the e-commerce sector. So that just shows that we're spot on, with this webinar. And I also believe that the navigating in compliance with the NDPC Act. The Nigeria Data Protection Act, the rights of data subjects, that you highlighted under the Act, I think is very enlightening both for data subjects and data controllers, and it's something that, they should, really take note of. So thank you once again for your presentation. So with that, we'll move to the next presentation, which is from our first discussion, for this webinar, Miss Omoumi Omosengdemi, the co-founder of Fast Riders. She's going to be delivering, the next presentation. Omoumi Omosengdemi's entrepreneur journey began with DY Shoes, a brand she founded to merge style, comfort, and a purpose. This early venture ignited her passion for business, earning her recognition, including a feature on the We Don't Play podcast. She wanted to solve real-world problems by using tech-based logistics strategies to resolve inefficiencies in last-mile delivery, born out of personal frustration impacting her fashion line. Determined to fix this gap, Omoumi co-founder Fast Riders, a company dedicated to empowering undeserved logistics operators and helping businesses streamline their delivery operations using day-to-day technological connections and enhancements. Fast Riders started as an aggregator platform, but has evolved to transform last-mile logistics. Under her leadership, Fast Riders won the MTN Yellow Pitchathon. Omoumi's work has not gone unnoticed. She was named one of the She-Win National Finance Corporation World Bank Group. She has also participated in globally renowned programs such as Seed Stars, Growth Africa, the AFAWA Enhancing Women Entrepreneurship in Africa, Investment Readiness Program, the Women in Tech Incubator Program, a collaboration between Standard Chartered Bank and the Enterprise Development Center, and the 54 Collective Business Support Accelerator. These experiences have sharpened her expertise in business strategy, scaling ventures, tech ideas incubation, and financial management. Proudly African, Omoumi is on a mission to build a global brand that seamlessly blends impact, profitability, and innovation. She's passionate about forging meaningful connections, driving change, and shaping industries one venture at a time. So, ladies and gentlemen, please let's make welcome our first discussant for the day, Ms. Omoumi Omosengdemi, and she'll be talking about the business of e-commerce. Thank you. You're welcome, Omoumi.
Thank you very much, Tosin. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be on this platform. Can anyone hear me, please?
Omoumi, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Engineer Tolu.
We can hear you.
Insightful presentation. So I'm coming onto this platform as a discussant based on what I've experienced around data protection when it comes to logistics and e-commerce. So for me as a person, what's wrong? I think my network is shaky. Okay, is it much better now? Can anyone hear me? Because I feel like I'm hearing myself back.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, so you cannot. So there's no way to separate e-commerce from logistics. The both industries, they go hand in hand together. So no matter what you do in e-commerce, you always need the logistics sector to actually help you achieve the goal that you intend to actually achieve, right? So I'm going to take you from my own experience in the industry since when I started. I started about 4 years ago as a normal dispatch business with just one bike, trying to help customers to move one package from one point to the other. Then while doing that, I realized that there were other loopholes in the system that needed to get better. So we started with the aggregator platform whereby we were aggregating riders and also aggregating business just to help them move packages from one point to the other. But there was something I noticed in the space. It just came up with just a WhatsApp platform whereby you have different logistics operators on a platform and also different social commerce business owners and people who had like a medium scale e-commerce business. Then on that platform, you would see things like, oh, I need a dispatch rider. I have a package that's it's here, it's going to this place. And people are putting out addresses, putting out names and phone numbers of individuals that they want to, help deliver a package. And you're just putting out people's details on a platform where you have over 200 people. Like you don't know what they can use this your data for at this point in time. So at that point in time, I teamed up with my co-founder and said, okay, you know what, this is time for us to build our own application whereby we ensure that we actually have a way to protect customers' information, right? So we built the Fast Riders app and we're able to connect businesses and also riders to the business. But one thing that we have done as a company while we started was we actually appointed a data protection officer. No matter, even though we're a really, really small business, we understood that data protection is very, very important, right? We understood that data is a very, very sensitive thing that we cannot just share with people. So when we did that with our data protection officer, then we also did a training. I know that the last mile logistics space is a space that has a lot of challenges, right? From having riders who are not really educated, they don't even understand the impacts that they are playing in the space, right? So what we did as a company was to ensure that our riders are properly trained. Yes, you are moving the package from one point to the other, but the things apart from the goods they are handling, are also handling customers' information, right? So we trained them and I made them understand that you're working for us. They also had to sign what's it called? They also had to sign contracts. In their contracts, there was a data policy in their contracts, even though they don't understand English, but we had to explain it to them in a way for them to understand, which is the local language from Pidgin to the ones that understand Yoruba and all of that. And we made them understand that you're not just handling packages, you're also in charge of customers' information. So it doesn't mean that when you finish dispatching this thing, then you now go behind, the customer's back to start marketing to them, for them to give you job. Or some people are even very funny. They even tend to call customers after they finish delivering a package to start sharing their family problems. These are some of the challenges that we actually face in the last mile logistics sector. You see dispatch rider, maybe they go to deliver package in an affluent area and they see that, okay, this customer has money. This is a way to open office on this person's head. So they act nice to the customer, deliver the package, and you have the customer's number. And the next thing is you are calling the customer 2 days after. Hello, sir. I'm your dispatch rider that dropped the package for you the other day. Yes, sir, my wife just put to bed. So we actually explain to our own set of riders that this kind of things are things that are not acceptable anywhere. If any of these kind of things should ever occur, then we are going to have to bring in the law enforcement. So we did that mindset shift for the people who actually work with us, which is something that we've also done. Then also on our own part for our staff as well. So we have a way whereby we limit the data that each department has access to. If you're going to be a customer-facing department, like the customer support department, there's a limit to the number of data that they have access to and for how long they have that data for. Do I still have you, Tosin?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. We can hear you.
All right.
We are with you. I hear you clearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have a way of limiting what our staff have access to. And also on our platform, before you sign up, we have the terms and conditions for us to onboard you and what we'll be using your data for. I know that a lot of businesses in our sector, they tend to, abuse customers' data. But for us at Fast Traders, whatever it is that we collect your data for is what we use it for. We are not going to collect your data and start bombarding you with, text messages about the offers that we have, or about or just try to make your life miserable with promotional materials. No, we don't do that. And also, we do not give out data of our customers to third parties. That is something that we have done since we started our business. And also, on the other hand, even if we have to, talk about maybe promotions and offers that we have, that is why we have a social media platform to actually do that. And also the in-app notification that we built into our system to alert our customers on the kind of promotions that we have. So I also think that another challenge we are also facing in our space is that there's limited awareness when it comes to data privacy. A lot of logistic businesses they don't understand this thing. They don't even know what data processing is or data protection is. Rather, they have no idea. They don't. So I want the NDPC to actually curate different packages for different businesses, no matter how small it is. Let it be different kind of offers that small businesses can actually buy into. Whether you're a small business, you're just starting.
Importance of the collaboration between e-commerce and logistics, the fact that they both go hand in hand, which is one of the reasons why we came up with this webinar and brought those two businesses together. So thank you very much once again. Up next, we have our second discussant for today. We have Mr. Andrew Nandi. Mr. Andrew Nandi is the Group Head, Legal Compliance and People for Kiosk. I'll just give a brief rundown of his profile. Andrew Nandi is an advocate of the High Court with over 15 years post-admission experience. Andrew is a seasoned legal practitioner with expertise in data privacy, e-commerce regulation, and digital compliance. Andrew's recent focus has been advising and supporting digital businesses in navigating complex data protection frameworks, regulatory compliance obligations, and cross-border data transfer issues. He has been instrumental in developing and implementing data privacy programs aligned with the Data Protection Act, GDPR, and other global data privacy regimes, particularly in high-volume consumer-facing platforms. Andrew's professional background includes broad experience in compliance management, risk mitigation, digital transformation, and corporate governance. He has led legal compliance and risk functions in both traditional and tech-driven institutions, including Direct Line, Assurance Limited, Rift Valley Railways Limited, Simba Corporation Limited, and Kiosk Digital Services Limited, where he played a key role in shaping data governance and privacy-first strategies across digital operations. A consummate commercial and corporate lawyer, Andrew is recognized for his ability to develop pragmatic legal solutions to complex regulatory and operational challenges in fast-paced, technology-driven environments. Andrew holds an LLB from Moore University and a postgraduate diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law and a Master of Law in Public Finance. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our second discussant for the day, Mr. Andrew Nandi, and we'll be talking about data privacy and the business of e-commerce. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Tosin, and good afternoon to everyone. I'll just try to share my screen. I'd like to request Adeola to probably step out of sharing so that I could share my screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now.
Yeah, Mr. Andrew, please go ahead. You can share your screen now.
Okay, thank you. That's visible?
It's blank, sir.
It's blank.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Andrew, please,
Yeah.
would appreciate if you could turn on your camera while you share your screen. Okay, so we can see your screen now.
You can see your screen now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. So thanks for the opportunity, and it's lovely to have listened to the two panelists before. Very great insights. Actually, what they have spoken about goes a lot into what I wanted to speak about. And therefore, I will not do the disservice of diluting what they have said. I'll just try see if we can enrich it. And basically, just out of experience, run through the e-commerce and logistics organization that is Kiosk. And I would also like to, I'll start by just a little bit of product placement in terms of Kiosk, just to understand who we are and why this is relevant for this conversation. So one is in terms of kiosks, we connect suppliers directly with traditional retailers, farmers, and local eateries. So we have a platform that connects retailers, the end users, sorry, the retailers, that's the mom and pop shops, to the suppliers. So whether it's manufacturers, whether it's farmers, they're able to place their orders on our platform. Our platform also provides the opportunity to conduct certain, we've given an opportunity to procure certain services such as financial services, credits, insurance services to our customers who, as we had said earlier, are the retailers. We operate in Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Mauritius. Now, this is important because of the peculiar nature of our operations makes us quite an interesting subject in terms of data protection and how do we then implement data protection compliance requirements to just make sure that, one, we have a proper framework to protect the personal data that we have. And secondly, also, of course, to make sure that we are in compliance with the law. So why does this matter in e-commerce? Again, like I said earlier, I will not dilute much because our initial speaker, Tolupe, had touched on the legal compliance requirements. That is important for e-commerce organizations. Of course, under the Constitution, there's a right to privacy under Section 37, which guarantees the privacy of data subjects. We also have the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023, which also further safeguards that data privacy and also implements compliance requirements. We have regulatory bodies, and we are today privileged to have the NDPC here with us. And for an organization like yours, where we operate on a global platform across Africa, there are certain regimes or certain jurisdictions that, of course, are not subject to the Data Protection Act of Nigeria. But you will realize that a lot of data protection acts across the continent borrow from what we call the GDPR, which was one of the benchmarks or international best practice in terms of data privacy. This again, so a lot of e-commerce runs on personal data. Our decisions, our onboarding of customers, and in fact, even issuance of the service, provision of the service, a lot of it runs on personal data. So we use the personal data, of course, to curate services to our customers in such a way that we are able to attend to their needs exactly how they would like their needs attended to. And we also use it for a lot in terms of market analysis. We use personal data internally as well for employees, which is one of the critical areas of data privacy that e-commerce platforms and e-commerce entities engage in. We will delve a bit into that just down the line. So what are those areas that an e-commerce organization such as ours would be interested in? So one of the things is that we have to just make sure then that we understand data protection laws internally, because of course, non-compliance will lead to the regulatory sanctions, loss of business that have been discussed before, and we have seen through the NDPC. The other thing that is important for e-commerce organizations is consent. As we have seen and has been discussed, there is need to obtain consent before you procure and process data subjects data. Of course, we have to have organization and technical measures to safeguard that personal data. And what is important for an organization such as ours, which is global, again, is cross-border data transfer. I will touch on this a bit later. It's one of the problematic areas and challenges that we face as an e-commerce platform in terms of understanding the regulations, understanding the requirements of cross-border data transfer, and therefore implementing those different requirements. And again, it's also important because the various jurisdictions will have various laws and with differing degrees. And therefore, how do we balance this? How do we make sure that we are compliant in each of the jurisdictions without flouting the law in any? Transparency and accuracy also has been discussed. So it's one of those areas as well for an e-commerce platform we need to be mindful about. We need to be able to, the data service needs to be able to understand why we need their data, what we're going to use it for, and the data that we have should, as to the maximum possible extent, be accurate. They also need to understand their user rights, and a lot of this I've seen from across jurisdiction goes into the data privacy policy, or rather the privacy notices. Then how do we retain this data and how do we get rid of it? So these are the key areas that we will be looking at, and that is important for an organization, for e-commerce and logistics organizations. So where does e-commerce meet data privacy? So within the digital space, like how we had discussed, data is actually the fuel that powers excellent customer experiences, and therefore protecting it makes it a non-negotiable. We interact with data in various events or elements. One is during the customer registration and profiling. So we collect data such as names, emails, phone numbers, home address, payment details, and this is just to facilitate the commercial transactions with our customers. For transaction processing, such as we needed personal data such as payment information, bank details, mobile payment details. That also helps us in terms of now effecting the e-commerce transactions. Marketing and personal subjects. So you will find most entities will collect personal data, and will collect personal data, of course, with their consent. And we use the data for various obligations. One is to process a transaction that you are contracting for. The other is actually marketing and personalization. So we try to curate the data so that we can offer a service that is particularly curated to you. So then you will find organizations having marketing ads sent directly to you. You might see an incident where you're probably discussing something with a friend of yours, or maybe on chat, passed by a shoe place, and then the next thing you see on probably a social media timeline is a shoe shop. So that comes out because your data is actually collected, and it is curated, and the ads are therefore curated specifically for you, to your needs. Now, it would be interesting to highlight this Domino Pizza case, which is exactly what happened. We had a customer that had ordered for pizza through the Jumia app, and the order was placed with Domino's. The Domino's continued sending him ads, continued bombarding him with ads, and he asked specifically for the ads to stop, but they did not. So, of course, he went to court, he sued. Now, what the court held here is that while the counsel, there needs to be